Welcome back to the 100 Club. We are here once again to talk about cricket. We are here to give another squad profile for the 100. And this time it is the turn of the Trent Rockets' fearsome, yellow-clad, skip-munching men's squad. Based out of Trent Bridge. They are, it's fair to say, in better nick in terms of squad cohesion or stability, perhaps, than the Southern Brave, who we previewed in our last video. Check that out. But there's still plenty of questions around them. So I'm alongside Rich.
Hello.
And Ollie.
Hello.
And we're going to go through the key details that you need to understand regarding the Trent Rockets. Okay, so I'm going to go to you again, Ollie, on this occasion. And we're going to say, who's got a point to prove in this squad?
Well, there's a few. So Joe Root is playing for the Trent Rockets and was overlooked by the Northern Superchargers. So he might want to make a little point of outperforming Ben Stokes, who
Headingley based Yorkshire, icon Joe Root, England captain. No thanks.
Yeah, got the cold shoulder from his hometown, and he's going to be living the high life in Nottingham for a couple of months. So yes, I think he's going to want to make sure he puts in a good performance, just to remind all those up north what they're missing out on. Malan was one of the lowest picks in the original draft, and has since gone on to be ranked as the best T20 player in the world. So he might want to remind the people that were doing the original picking quite what he's about.
Yeah. So he's got 7 axes for 7 franchises to grind.
Yeah. So I think so he's I think he's going to be looking to remind everyone what he's about. But the person I kind of wanted to focus on most is Alex Hales. So he's had some good spells now with with franchise teams around the world, but there's it's been out of the England setup for a few years now, and there's a T20 World Cup coming up, and I think we can kind of talk about why he's not been in the England setup, but I think the noises that are being made by the England camp suggest that it's possible that the door might not be shut forever, and he might get looking. So I guess the question is, can he put in the sorts of performances in the 100 to put a bit of pressure on Roy and Butler, and kind of question, I suppose, if those guys who are the incumbents with the England shirt in the opening spot, if they falter, and Hales has just been piling on the runs in the 100, then I guess whatever's gone on in the past, can the England selectors overlook a weight of runs? So I think that he might, all he can do, I suppose, at this point is kind of let the cricket, make his case.
You mentioned the franchise stuff there. He was the leading run scorer in the Big Bash this winter, so he did very well down under.
Yeah, there are no shortage of teams wanting his cricketing services. I think he's
apart from one at the moment. That's the England team.
Okay. No shortage of franchises. So. Yeah. It's over 5,500 runs scored, I think, at the strike rate of about 145 in T20. So, almost the definition of a T20 batter, a short format batter.
Yeah. I guess the question around. Sorry.
Go on, Rich.
I guess the question around Root, and it's also equally applicable to Stokes and indeed the rest of the Red Ball contracted players, is that you have the first test against India on the 4th of August, and then the second test starting on the 12th. So the centrally contracted players are probably likely to miss quite a few of the games. So I wonder if that sort of factored into the thinking when they were selecting their centrally contracted players.
Perhaps, but at the same time, these players are going to want to represent, certainly Root and Stokes, are going to want to represent England at the World Cup, which is coming up in the autumn. So they've got a point to prove there.
Yeah.
Who's going to be putting the squad together on match days, Rich?
So originally it was supposed to be Stephen Fleming, the former Kiwi captain, current coach of the Chennai Super Kings. But due to the pandemic and living inside and outside of bubbles, he decided to spend a bit more time with his family and not coach this year's tournament. So he's handed over the reins to former England coach Andy Flower, who people might remember as the coach who won the 2010-11 Ashes Down Under, but also England's first limited over competition win when he won the World T20 in the Caribbean in T10. So very experienced coach, knows all formats of the games very well, including sort of T20 formats. So I think he's going to be a pretty good addition and a pretty good cover for Stephen Fleming.
Yeah, a fabulously talented player in his day as well, of course, and pretty. How I would describe Andy Flower is he's obviously intelligent.
He is, but to be fair, he wasn't even the best player in his family. But I'm Team Grant Flower over here.
Okay, all right. Well, they never.
No, he was a very, very good player.
Not bad.
Yeah,
not bad second player.
And very principled as well. I mean, gave up a significant part of his international career due to making a political stand against the Mugabe regime. So a lot to be admired there.
There is. He's got a fair amount of talent to have a look at. And I think the one name that we haven't mentioned yet is the one I'm going to have a look at as the young prospect. And the only reason I'm calling him that is because he's 22 and the rest of the squad is largely 25 plus. So the youngest player on the team is actually the world's best T20 player in Rashid Khan.
Yeah.
So
you've really plucked an unknown name out of the hat here.
Yeah, well, he's the prospect.
Who is this Rashid Khan, Tom, that you speak of? Tell us about him.
Well, he happens to be a superstar leg spinner, right arm leg spinner, who bowls a beautifully swift stump-to-stump delivery with a particularly strong googly. That's the ball that should go right to the left as he looks at it for the right-handed batsman. Goes the other way, disguised, skids in, and takes a lot of wickets in T20. In fact, he's the leading T20 wicket taker of all time at the age of 22. He's been playing internationals and franchise cricket now for 5 years. He's scored hundreds, he bats beautifully, hits a long ball, and he's a fantastic fielder. You can't forget that as well. Throws himself around in the covers most of the time. So he's going to do it all. He's a former ICC Associate Player of the Year 2017. He's $1 million player in the IPL. He is absolutely box office. I suppose the only question I've got about him is how much he's going to play, because he has been tremendously loyal to his Afghan team over the years. And they have a bit of action going on as well, I think, with potentially a bit of a clash. But there's nothing official from him that he's not going to meet his contract. I think there is a question about him meeting the Caribbean Premier League in September. But fingers crossed, we see a lot of Rashid Khan this July and August.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I enjoy watching about Rashid Khan is, as you say, he is not a loopy leg spinner. He really fizzes it through. And he's got variations as well. He bowls a good googly. The ball's on you so quickly, you can't get forward to it. Batsmen try and get back. It's difficult to do that. They get caught in no man's land. He's just incredibly effective in this format of the game. And of course, the winner of the Ultimate Cricket Challenge over the winter.
Yeah, tell us about that one, Rich.
Yeah, you go through this because you've been trying to pick this up, and I'm yet to be convinced. The link you sent me when we were talking about this offline, it looked like some cricketers having a net. So elaborate. What is this format?
Well, for people who were just about getting on board with 100, maybe this wasn't for you. But it was a sort of advertising gimmick over the winter. It was one-on-one cricket. Essentially, it was like indoor. I think you were allowed a fielder. It was sort of 30 balls each, and it was Rashid Khan, Andre Russell, Chris Gale, Yuvraj Singh, Owen Morgan. Quite a few guys involved in the 100, and Kevin Peterson. Yeah, indeed. And the final was Rashid Khan against the Southern Braves, Andre Russell,
won?
Rashid, of course.
Right.
Yes, of course, there you go.
So. You've described him well.
I'm sure it was that meant that that Rashid Khan was the top pick in the draft.
Well, yeah, we didn't mention that. The fact he was the first pick.
Yeah. So once again, you really went out on a limb with your wildcard selection.
Don't hold me guilty. He's the youngest player.
I didn't written on the list.
Yeah. Oh, well. I know talent. You can't blame me for that. But where's he going to fit in this squad? I
Indeed.
suppose. Are you going to play selector again, Rich?
I am. I'm going to do what I think every morning and think, what would Andy Flower do in this situation?
Do you have a little bracelet?
Yeah.
WWAFD. Okay. Can I go first? Because again, it's an easy one for me.
Yes.
Alex Hales to open.
Okay. Yeah. Controversial, but we'll go with it.
Yeah.
Your move, Ollie.
So I'm going to have Hales opening with Luke Wright, which is possibly a little bit more controversial because because it means that there's no space in my team for D'Arcy Short.
Thanks for coming over, Darcy. Thanks for quarantining for 10 days.
Thanks for being a round one overseas pick who we're paying £100,000.
Yeah, I realise that. I do realise that, but I'm sure
there's 12 drinks over there
that you can run out. If you're getting paid £100,000, you'd better not spill the drinks. That's it. I looked at who had the better. I was looking at strike rates because I think opening in the 100 is it's a short power play. You've got to get off to a very quick start. Is my assumption. So I picked the two guys that have got the best strike rates for opening and are used to opening, Hales and Wright. So tough luck.
I don't think so.
Yeah, the scenario though, I suppose I would probably maybe give D'Arcy Short a game is if there's if up against the side with a lot of left-handers, then he bowls a few Chinamen. And I didn't have many, so I might get him in for his bowling.
Fair enough.
That is ridiculous. Okay, I actually had a different name up there in the opening stakes. I had Malan. And the reason I want David Malan up there, or Dawid Malan rather, is because he's the world's best T20 batter as rated. But at the same time, he likes a few balls to get a sighter before then his strike rate goes through the roof. So I think you need to get him involved early to provide a platform. So I wouldn't be surprised if they stuck him in the opening. I think he wants to open in T20 a lot of the time as well.
So I think that might make sense in T20 cricket, where you've got a slightly longer power play. I think in this format, we only got 25 balls. I think you want somebody that can just give it the long handle treatment in the power play. But it'll be interesting to see if anyone goes for that.
Well, I think on the basis of you want your best batters to face the most number of balls, and Dawid Malan is ranked number one at the minute. I think that's a reasonable argument to get him in there, and we'll have. Well, let's park D'Arcy for the minute and see if we can fit him in somewhere.
Can I give you a sales pitch for 3 being Joe Root then?
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Because for me, again, the best batsman out there, multi-format. You want probably your best batter in at 3. I think he'd want to bat 3. He's the captain. There you go.
Yeah, fair enough.
I had him 4, but I was going Hales Wright, then Malan and Root. So we're kind of playing in the same space. Depends if they lose an early wicket. We'll get the same result anyway.
Okay, so to round out my 5, it then did that.
Okay.
Well,
let's leave that for the minute and see who do you have at 6 and 7, Ollie?
So I had Samit Patel and then Lewis Gregory, who's I think he's captain. He's been announced as captain of this side.
You're quite right. I'm sorry, Joe. You're not captaining this one either.
Wow, he deserves a break.
But Lewis Gregory is a fantastic captain. There's not much around. He will not miss a beat with his captaincy in this. True, and it actually could bring him on really nicely having Joe Root alongside as well. Yes, please, my Somerset hat on.
And another player with aspirations of getting into the England squad, I suppose, for the T20 World Cup.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. I had Gregory in at 6 myself, but I had actually Khan in there at 7. So I wanted a bit of long handle from Rashid Khan as well.
Okay.
Followed by Patel. I don't know about you, Ollie.
So now I had Moores in actually ahead of Khan.
Did you?
I mean, you talked, Tom, about how good a bat Rashid Khan was. Do you think there's an argument that in some games you might send him up the order?
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen it done in the IPL when he goes out a bit earlier. I'm not going to argue this one, to my dying breath. Tom Moores has been quite productive, I think, so far this season, and we definitely need him in the team, I think, as a wicket-keeping option.
Yeah. Okay. So, who rounds off your team then, Ollie?
So I had then some quicks. I wanted a bit of pace. So I've got Nathan Coulter-Nile, Tim van der Gutten, and bringing up the rear, Luke Wood, because I wanted a bit of variety. So I want my left armour in.
So we've ended up with 12 there again. I didn't have Wood
because I've got D'Arcy Short carrying the drinks. Remember?
Oh yeah. Of course.
Okay.
So yeah. So who would you not have, Tom? Because
I didn't have Wood in there. Whilst his form is decent, he's a little lacking in experience for me. I don't think he's going to do as much as Van der Guchten is in the early overs.
Okay. I think we're going to give D'Arcy Short a game, given that he was the second pick after Rashid Khan.
That's like picking someone for just because their mum makes a great tea. Gotta go on the cricketing side.
That's an equally valid reason. So I'm going to put Luke Wood on the bench to start with, following Tom's argument there. And so we've got 11.
Yeah,
that's obviously the batting looks very strong there. Is there enough bowling in that lineup?
Well, you could maybe drop D'Arcy Short and bring Luke Wood in.
I'm happy to work with it. I think you've got a good balance there. Khan, Patel, Gregory will take the pace off the ball. That works for me. 5-6 with Luke Wright, who really isn't. He's got plenty of experience in bowling in the short form. Yeah, I'm happy with that.
And Joe Root's an underrated bowler as well. I mean, I know he's listed there as a batter, but I always think that the weight of captaincy on his shoulders, and as good a batter he is, I think he could probably do more bowling than he does.
Do you think he'll bowl in the 100? Honestly,
I think that Andy Flower's quite an innovative coach, and if he sees something in him in training that he thinks he can get out of him, then maybe. I mean, didn't he open the bowling in the T20 final back in when they lost to the West Indies?
You'll have to remind me, but quite possibly, I suppose.
Yeah, I think he did.
Okay.
So you've got three spin options, haven't you, including route. So I guess the other name, if it's looking like a real turning pitch, is that we've got sat on the bench is Matt Carter.
Yeah.
If it's looking like a dust bowl, then perhaps he's going to make a claim for a spot.
And as we know, Trent Bridge is a very batting friendly ground. The surface, the dimensions of it. We've seen some really big scores at Trent Bridge in the last few years. So important to get to make sure you have a firepower in your batting order, I suppose.
Yeah, and that was my thought with where they might go with the wild card, actually. So I wondered whether they wanted a high strike rate batter to go in there as an option, and I picked up maybe Josh Inglis, who's doing quite nicely for Leicestershire, I think, at the Vitality Blast at the minute. Scored a century last week. Australian dual national. Plays for Western Australia, Perth and stuff like that. So, his strike rate, I think, is averaging about 175 at the minute. He'd definitely do the trick.
Am I right in saying that the wildcard picks will come in at the lowest pay scale, though? So they'd have to be prepared to pick up 30 grand for 3 weeks' work.
Yeah, when you put it like that, it's a tough gig, isn't it?
I think you'd be right.
No, it's a good shout. It's a good shout. And I think they're picking first as well, aren't they, in the wild card?
Yes, and that's on the 2nd of July. Okay, so I think we've got a squad there. I think the question we asked of the women's squad was, would they beat the Southern Brave in their first game? We know that the Southern Brave have added Quinton de Kock and Devon Conway to plug some of the holes that we'd identified. But for me, I think I still fancy the Trent Rockets men to beat the Southern Brave men as it stands. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I'd go the other way. I think with the additions of Conway and de Kock, I really like the look of the Southern Brave now. I think they filled those holes that we identified, and I look at the side that we put together there, and I'm just a little bit worried about the sixth bowling option.
Yeah. Well, tell you what, we'll have to find out on the 24th of July, kicking off at 14:30, that one, part of the doubleheader, on the first Saturday of the 100. Any other sort of closing business on the Trent Rockets, or are we happy with where we are?
I think we're happy with where we are.
Good. All right, I will keep that draft squad for posterity and argument in future. Oli, Rich, thank you very much for joining again. We would very much welcome your comment, so please do put something down below. Please do give us a subscribe on whatever platform you're watching us on. Check us out on Twitter as well. That's the 100 Club 1. Is that right, Rich?
That's right.
Cool. News updates coming out on there. So, again, been a pleasure. But we'll catch you next time on the 100 Club, where we'll be previewing another team. Are we going to declare who that is yet?
Why not?
Who is it? I can't remember.
Well, let's not then.
All right.
I think we might be doing the Manchester Originals.
Okay.
So, yeah, come back for a surprise.
Yeah. Okay. Well, join us again. That's likely to be out on next Tuesday. Until then, good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.